What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another episode. This one's going to be pretty short, but it's pretty interesting because we have Eric Bland and two, and I'll tell you why it's interesting that we have two of the Murdaugh jurors that gave a short interview, or it may have been a longer interview. Somebody sent me a 1-minute clip, so that's what we're going to watch together. But what's interesting about it being two jurors is that I believe Eric Bland and Ronnie Richter, their law firm, represented 4 or 5 jurors. So why did only 2 give this interview? That's interesting to me. Number 2, why did they give an interview at all? Number 3, think about the allegations of the defense as we listen to this interview and the allegations against Miss Becky and some of the arguments made by Ronnie Richter in court and Eric Bland in court about anonymity and making sure we protect these jurors and things like that. Then they're giving interviews. It's totally a juror's call. A juror should absolutely be able to give interviews. And maybe that's why the other 2 or 3 jurors they represent, they want to stay anonymous. I believe we've already heard from these 2 jurors in other interviews in the past. Were they the ones asking for cards with Miss Becky and wanting to go on the news and give these interviews? I don't know. But the defense team's allegations would infer that, would make your mind go there potentially. So all the mud being slung back and forth between all the lawyers involved and everybody involved in this case, every time you give an interview, I feel like you know something is coming, right? You know something is coming, but you don't care. It's still worth it to give this interview. I think I know what's in it. I've heard parts of it. It's only 1 minute, like I said. We'll see if Eric Bland even says anything at all, or if he just lets the jurors speak. We'll see if they talk about Miss Becky, what their perception was about whether or not she was tampering with the jury. But it's really interesting, the whole context around this. And if we find the full interview, if you guys find the full interview, send it to me. I'll take a look at it when I'm done with my trial, of course. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and leave in the comments why you think there's only 2 jurors here with Eric Bland when he represents 4 or 5. I'm interested to know. All right, let's get to it.
Did you feel pressured to reach a verdict quickly?
I didn't.
No.
No.
No. Not by Becky Hill.
No.
So first question, did you feel pressured to give a verdict? No. Okay, simple enough. And basically, so what I'm interested in now, what the answer is going to be, or the context is going to be, is did Becky say anything about you need to give a verdict? Because pressured to give a verdict would go towards the, did it actually prejudice Alec Murdaugh? And if they would have felt pressure, then that would have prejudiced Alec Murdaugh. So they didn't. But what about prong 1? Did she even talk to them about the substance of the case?
No.
No. Not by Becky Hill.
No. She made it clear. She said that the judge.
She made it clear, and then she kind of corrected herself. She said that the Judge
Newman stated that we had until 10 o'clock to make a verdict. That was the time that we were given. But if we didn't, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
She found a hotel. We would have to be sequestered, which made sense. We were in deliberations.
If it lasted past 10, Judge Newman said we'd have to be sequestered in a hotel, which made sense. Interesting to me, if they had never been told they were going to be sequestered before, why that would make sense. They've gone home every other day. Was it a surprise? Was it not? There's just some like gray area and stuff I didn't know. I would think from doing this, if we were going to sequester a jury, that's something we talk about in jury selection. Make sure everybody's okay with that. Make sure they're not going to have a anxiety attack or a panic attack being away from their husband or wife or kids overnight. Those are things I feel like you would have talked about beforehand, and maybe they did, but it just is weird that we're not given that context here.
We didn't know we would be deliberating that day, but it made sense. But there was no pressure whatsoever. And the forelady, I mean, she even told us when we were in there alone and the door was locked, she told us, we don't have to do this tonight.
And then they stick up for the 4. So they stick up for Miss Becky and they stick up for the forelady. She was in there and she locked it when the door was locked and it was just us. She said, we do not have to finish tonight. So regardless of what Miss Becky or any bailiff or Judge Newman or anybody said, the jury knew they did not have to finish tonight. Therefore, they weren't pressured. Therefore, even though it seems like Miss Becky was making statements about this, I don't really know that I think this is procedural. I don't think this is a substantive issue about the evidence or testimony or listen to what the defense attorney said or anything like that. So I don't even think there was jury tampering based on this statement, of course, just this statement we're talking about. It was more procedural about what a court clerk should do. If you're past 10 o'clock, we're going to have to put you up at a hotel. You're sequestered. Totally appropriate, in my opinion. And prong two, there was no prejudice because they didn't feel any pressure to give a verdict that night.
If you're too tired, you don't have to do this tonight. We don't have to do it.
She didn't mention smoke breaks, but she did say if you're too tired, we don't have to do this tonight.
And even after we came to our verdict, she said, if you don't feel comfortable with your decision, we don't have to go out there. We can stay here or we can come back in the morning until you are comfortable.
I was like, oh my gosh, he's a school. Did you feel?
So if you look at it and think about it that way, not only was there no tampering, not only was there no prejudice, but they even confirmed after they got their verdict, are you sure? Do you want to sleep on it, even though it'll be sequestered? Do you want to wait till the morning and make sure this is the correct and proper verdict in this case? To me, this is bolstering the Becky Hill argument. This is bolstering the state's argument. This is bolstering SLED's argument. It's all helpful to them. This is not something that's going to be evidence. This is not something that's going to be used in the appeals, but it gives you an idea of at least what two of the jurors felt. That there was no tampering, there was no pressure, there was no prejudice. I would surmise and guess that this was a longer interview than just 1 minute, and that the rest of the interview probably was also positive for the state, for law enforcement, maybe even partially positive for Miss Becky, because we've heard Eric Bland say some not so nice things about Miss Becky in press conferences, which is understandable because, as I said, as a trial lawyer, I don't think Eric Bland would appreciate what Miss Becky did. Even if he truly believes there was no prejudice in this case, he would hate it if a court clerk did that in his trial. I would think. I know I would hate it. So I thought that was a really interesting, just a little snippet for us to talk about together a little bit. Again, we're banking some videos over the weekend to play during the week so we can still discuss this stuff, see what's happening, see how it's going to affect the appeal, see how it's going to affect the future of this case. And I want to know from you, were you surprised there was only 2 jurors? That is a question. And were you surprised that Eric Bland didn't speak, at least in this snippet? Now, if you've seen the whole interview, let me know. I don't know if he gave his opinion. My guess is it was something similar to what we already heard in the press conference post-hearing where the motion for new trial was denied. And again, they're on the winning side right now. They're on the right side right now. So it's more comfortable. It's easier to give these interviews. The judge agrees with you. The courts agree with you right now. The case is upholding that verdict. And that's what Eric Bland said. It's so important for these jurors to have their verdict upheld that was gotten from free deliberations and discussions in the jury room, as is supposed to happen in this country and has always happened in this country. So a short one, a quick one. I'm glad we were all able to come and hang out for at least a little bit. Can't wait to read your comments later. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to our page, hit that reminder bell, because you never know what the schedule is going to be this week or really any other week in the life of a trial lawyer who also comes on here and talks about trials on YouTube with all of you guys to learn what are these potential jurors in the chat thinking. So I appreciate you all. Until next time, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.